Since its inception, film has served as a popular medium for entertainment. More than 100 years later, we have seen film advance from silent movies to talkies, black and white to color, low-budget films to expensive blockbusters, and plain dramas to effects-heavy science fiction epics. But that's not the only change we've seen. Film genres have evolved over the years. We've seen horror, drama, mystery, thriller, comedy, fantasy, and science fiction, and everything in between. Hi, my name is Thomas Hostetter. My screen name is T. Hawker. I made several films over the last few years, my most recent one being The Plot. I've heard people say, "This is my favorite movie ever," and then later on I hear them say, "This is my favorite movie ever," referring to another movie. So the goal with this documentary was to see what people's favorite genres and films were. I decided to talk to about 8 different people and see what their responses were. First, we're going to see what their favorite genres were.
Probably musicals, but they have to be happy, light-hearted musicals, like The Sound of Music, Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, where there's a happy story at the end, where good overcomes evil, and you just leave feeling good and singing the songs as you go out of the theater.
My favorite film genre would probably be drama, because I like true life stories or something that depicts on how people really feel. And I like motivational stories that show people defeat odds they overcome odds that would defeat other, lesser people.
I'd go with sci-fi fantasy, and I guess I just like that one because it's more of what I read, and it's easier to escape reality. I mean, that's what movies are. We're trying to escape reality in the lives that we're in, so it's easier to do that when it is so different from our reality that we can put ourselves there. When it's a drama, I mean, it's just work. I go to work, I see drama, so why would I want to watch drama? But, I don't get to see outer space or dwarves or something, so sci-fi fantasy would be my favorite.
My favorite film genre, I would say, is comedy.
Okay.
But not any comedy. I don't like comedy that is dirty. I don't really like comedy that is stupid humor.
So,
I like more like tasteful, kind of witty comedy.
So what do you mean by dirty?
Like sexual puns and just lots of vulgar sexual stuff. Doesn't really do it for me.
Okay.
I like comedy that makes you think a little, that's a little more witty, that kind of thing. Not base, kind of gross comedy.
My favorite genre's got to be the sci-fi and the fantasy, just because, that's kind of where there's an escape. It's a good way to escape, the normal nastiness of life and the boring stuff. You usually put a lot of imagination into all those things, so, big comic book fan, big on, making sure that at least some of the science is right, but, that's my main thing.
Probably like adventure, fantasy type movies. I like things that have elements of magic and yet I like the superhero getting the bad guy kind of movies. So
my favorite genre of films, I would have to say, are the martial arts films. But I have to qualify that to begin with. And when I say that, I'm speaking more primarily of the Chinese persuasion of films, in that kind of like a subgenre, I guess. The modern day versions are all right and everything, but I think that there is a higher level of skill in the Chinese versions than there are in, say, the Western versions. Take Jet Li or Jackie Chan, for example. Both of them are very famous Chinese martial artists, but when you watch them do their films and you watch how everything is done, yeah, they do, you know, the wire work and things to do some of these little jumps that are really, really high, or fighting on bamboo up in a bamboo grove, or some kind of, you know, nonsense, which would be cool to begin with, but, you know, is not really practical, but yet they are still themselves doing the fight scenes. They themselves are the ones who are doing it. Either they have choreographed it, or they're at such a high level of skill that they actually understand how the choreographer wants it to be done, or through, you know, talking to whoever it is that they're fighting, they figure out this is what will look good here. But they're more intense, I think, than what we do here in the West.
I don't know if I have a favorite genre, but I have a baseline of what I kind of like in movies. I like movies that have a good twist at the end, whether it's at the end or the beginning or the middle. Something that keeps you engaged throughout the movie. You know, that you're thinking about it, you're trying to figure it out. You know something's going to happen, but you're not exactly sure, or you think you know, and then in the end it's totally something different. And those are the kind of movies. They can be horror, they can be action, they can be drama. As long as there's a good twist, that's more my type of genre that I like.
Now let's take a look at what their favorite films are.
Probably The Sound of Music. Just if I had to choose one, I have a lot of favorite ones, but The Sound of Music, or I like the Anne of Green Gables series, where you just watch her grow up and become successful, and either one of those I think probably would be my all-time favorite. But I like lots of movies, but happy ones.
My favorite movie would probably be The Rookie, and it's about a baseball player who has hurt his shoulder, and it ended his baseball career, and then later in life he came back to play Major League Baseball. But more than that, it shows his love of the game of baseball, which is closely not closely, but it shows how I felt about the game of baseball. That's why I like it so much.
It would be Becoming Jane. It's about Jane Austen's life. I like that movie a lot. It's pretty good.
Empire Strikes Back.
The Empire Strikes Back.
Yes. I saw that when I was in second grade, and it kind of changed my whole little world. It was the only movie that my family and I saw in the theater more than once, and it changed everything about how we played as kids. We all wanted to be those characters. We all wanted the toys. We all... that one in particular ended in a way where we knew there was going to be more. There had to be more. And so we were really excited about that, and finding out what happened next in the story and coming up with maybe our own ideas on what happened in that story. I still remember to this day, I can probably quote 95% of the lines from that movie. And when I see it on TV or we put it in, it really brings back some good memories.
Number of reasons is Jurassic Park.
Huh?
And the reason for that is, before that came out, the effect that it had afterwards on the movie industry, and particularly the way people looked at museums, the way people looked at dinosaurs, all that kind of stuff. All that information was already there for the general scientific group, but that wasn't like a mainstream idea. And so, the way that, and I've talked to some other paleo nerds and people that have watched that, and they're like, yeah, the first time I saw the Brachiosaurus as it's coming through, I cried, because it was so real looking. It was amazing the way they made it look. And just the lifelike, the way they really brought them to life. It was the sound effects, everything. And of course, there were some nice overarching themes in it. You don't mess with nature. Don't do that. But the excitement that it brought to people to want to go learn more about dinosaurs.
I think my favorite film in that genre would have to be one called Tai Chi Master, which here in the West is called Twin Warriors. It stars Jet Li and another guy, I don't remember his name, but in that movie you get to see Tai Chi as it is really meant to be and how it's supposed to be used, which is as a martial art. The skill involved is incredible. It's comedic, and yet there's a lot of drama in it. It's an action, and yet at the same time it's kind of subdued. And so you have an interplay of Chinese philosophy in there, along with just horsing around and just making silly, stupid little puns and jokes and things like that. But all in all, it's actually a really, really good film, and I would say that it's probably my all-time favorite movie.
Maverick. It's it's more of a western, kind of a western, I guess. It's with Mel Gibson in it. He's probably one of my favorite actors, and it's just it's got a lot of comedy to it, quite a bit of drama, and then there's also a little bit of a twist at the end of that one too.
Out of 8 people, 3 said that they prefer the sci-fi fantasy genre. This is a big percentage. Going into this project, I hypothesized that people would prefer comedy. I was proven wrong. One person had a favorite genre that couldn't quite be categorized. We can also see that people do have favorite films. One person I talked to did not. Except for one person, these people's favorite films can be found within the genres that they specified. Is there a reason behind this? Nobody knows. Everybody in the world is different, and that's the reason why there's different genres.